Welcome to Business Conversation Interviews. Hey everybody, it's Wahome. Welcome to another episode of Business Conversation Interviews. We've interviewed the most successful people from across various industries, from business owners, entrepreneurs, influencers, doctors, lawyers, coaches, and a variety of experts. So today we're lucky to have Jessica Hylands with us. And Jessica's one of the top coaches in the UK for confidence and resilience. She's going to be sharing key insights into how you can go about increasing your confidence, mastering your mindset, and also having more fulfillment in life. So without further ado, let me welcome Jessica. Hey, Jessica.
Hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yeah. You hear me?
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, and you?
Right, my screen's ready.
Yep. So I think it looks fine now. Okay, so thank you for joining us today, Jessica. It's a pleasure to have you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so we'll dive into the first question. So tell us about your business and so tell us about your background. Why did you decide to get into your business?
Hear me all right? Because you went a bit cracking up there. Do I sound okay to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the gist of what you're saying though, so that's okay.
Yeah, so you got the question?
Yeah, so how I started, yeah? How I got started.
Yeah, and what's your background?
Yeah.
Why did you get into your business yet?
I started my sort of coaching journey quite early on in life, really. I was very shy and lacking in self-esteem and self-confidence when I was younger, and I noticed how kids at school, how the confident people seem to not get noticed as much somehow as the ones who are lacking in confidence. And so the summer holiday between junior school and the senior school, I practiced being confident. I practiced how I smiled, how I walked, how I talked, and all this and the other. And I got to a high school sort of confident, and I sort of later realized that actually that was a confident persona and not confident inside, but that was just a confident persona that I was putting out to everybody. And so I read every book in the library on why we do what we do, how we this, that, and the other, and I mean, before the days of the internet, of course, and I didn't really find what I was looking for. And I searched then for, I studied psychology, that wasn't it. I trained as a counsellor, no, that wasn't it. And then a client of mine at the time in the business I had then asked me out to London on this weekend sort of seminar thing on NLP. And I'd never heard of it before, but I thought, yeah, brilliant, I'd like to learn anything. So I went up and it was like, oh, absolutely what I've been searching for all my life. So I signed up with this American company to do loads of courses and spent the next few years studying. So that was, and really I just did it out for interest for myself. But then people get say, oh, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? And, in the end, I had to cut down on my existing business to make room for the coaching business. So that was how I got started, really. That was my story.
So what's the idea behind your business? Like, what made you decide to go into that part of coaching, and what was the reason for that?
Well, because having been in a place myself where I was so lacking in self-confidence, self-esteem, and I know how debilitating that is and how it affects just everything. It affects everything: your choices, your thoughts, your enjoyment of life, or lack of. In my case, a lot of the time, because it was sort of quite bad. Well, I think anyone who's got a lack of self-esteem, self-confidence, there are degrees of it, but it's still, it's still a massive thing. And so really it was having got myself from being that sort of person to being a properly confident person rather than just behind the persona. It was about sharing the joy, really. I mean, knowing the difference for me from one to the other, it's just so massive. And it was just about, letting people know that you can do it, really, I suppose. Yeah, so that was sort of, just spreading the joy.
I like that. Yeah. So what's been like the biggest challenge you personally faced when you were starting your business? And what was the key to overcoming that for you?
I think in a sense, I don't recognize challenges because I find them sort of difficult and uncomfortable. And I don't, the word itself makes me go, ugh. So I tend to see things as things that I don't know yet, rather than challenges, because if they're things I don't know yet, all I've got to do is learn it, and then that's okay. I know it's just a terminology thing, but in my head that's how it is. So so in that sense, no, I didn't have any challenges. But if you were to use that terminology, then my challenge would be technology, as you've experienced yourself with me. I think having born in a time like when I left school, I mean, computers have been invented, but they certainly weren't. There were none in my office, and there were certainly people didn't have them at home. I mean, so you don't have a sixth sense about them. I think if you haven't grown up with them, the most high tech we got was a calculator. We thought we were cutting edge with that. And so you don't have a sixth sense about it. So if plan A doesn't work, then I'm stuck because I don't have a plan B. So when I first started out, knowing I didn't even have a Facebook account because I didn't have, there wasn't a gap in my life that was asking for Facebook, I suppose. So it just wasn't something that I was doing. And then realizing that if I wanted to do this as a business, I needed to get myself out there. But because I was sort of in business circles anyway, the way I got around it really was just shouting out, what's Facebook all about? And somebody then came and helped me set an account up, and then someone else came and told me all about posting and stuff. I got to know how to do it through that, and then subsequently I've got a bit more tech savvy with doing my own website and stuff. But yeah, I'd say if anything is a challenge for me, is that it is technology.
Yeah, I think that is a key, because I think with technology, you need to know how to use the social media. You need to know how to do
that's your thing, isn't it? That's your speciality. Yeah. So easy for you to say.
Yeah, because I think especially now, they say that people more watch videos. 9 out of 10 people will watch a video rather than read a post.
Yeah.
So you're going that way where you have to use technology.
Yes, absolutely.
To communicate, get the message out, and I can see why it is challenging. You're not used to how to use it.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's easy when you know. It's the thing with that. Well, like everything's easy. Brain surgery is easy when you know. But with stuff like the internet, say if it's not a second nature thing. I mean, I expect at your age, it was already there when you sort of left school and stuff, wasn't it? So yeah, second nature to you.
So, what do you think is the most unique skill that you've had that's allowed you to become so successful?
I think having been through so much stuff in my life, and I think that gives me a real good ability to be able to understand. It doesn't have to have been something massive in life that can create a daily problem. It can just be one thing that somebody said 20 years ago, and it can floor you on a daily basis. And I think having been there and sort of experienced that, and as I say, anything from a trauma to a one comment, and I think having experienced that, I don't have to have experienced the same thing as somebody else to be able to appreciate how devastating something can be, and I think that helps me to understand people on a deeper level, I think. So yeah, I like to think that's my speciality.
Yeah, I like that. I think that empathy is really crucial, and to be able to show that you have that human side that you can relate, understand people where they're coming from, because then it makes it easier for clients or your audience to then feel that you understand them. And then,
well, it does, because I think as well, if we've got, I'm sure everyone listening can sort of relate to this really, but when it's something to you, you think, oh, it's just such a stupid thing. It's so stupid. Why does it bother me so much? And so sometimes I think it's difficult to actually put it into words when we're feeling something that we consider to be stupid, because it's not stupid, because it's affecting our life. But so having been there, I think hopefully it makes people feel easier to open up. So
that's a good skill to have. So what advice would you give to people who are looking to start a practice or a business, but are just too scared to make that first step, and so they keep procrastinating?
I think fear is a good thing. I think when we're too scared, and I think it's a good thing, because I'm very much every cloud's got a silver lining. So it's good if you're scared, but I think it is good, because I think when we're scared, it means that we're really conscious of wanting to do a good job, and we're really worried about making sure we do it properly. And so if we weren't scared, that would mean, not necessarily, there's obviously a bigger scale than scared to blasé, but if we were blasé about something, it just means, it'll work out, it's all right, and we're less likely to give it our all. So on the one side, yes, it is a plus, I think, to be a bit scared and nervous, and also remembering that most of our fear is fear of the unknown. So I would suggest, if you know, in starting a business, if you're feeling a bit worried about it, to just gin yourself up with everything. So you don't have to know what to do, but you have to know it needs to be done. So like registering with HMRC, getting your books done, getting your accounts done, the insurance, any CPD you might have to do, any training stuff, any qualifications you might have to have if it's a regulated industry. So I think knowing what you need to do, I say it's not necessarily a case of knowing how to do it, but knowing that it needs to be done, I think is crucial in when you're then looking at starting this business. You've got a proper full vision of it, as it were, rather than just this big dark space that you're going into with your fingers crossed and think, oh, this is what's going to happen. So I think, you know, and for anybody in that situation who's listening, I think, you know, maybe your local Chamber of Commerce might be a good place to start. Just, you know, get in touch with them. What do I do? Who do I need to talk to? And they will have a million people that you can talk to who will just put you on the right track. And, you know, so it's very often what we don't know that is the problem for us. So yeah, get yourself prepared, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think people do fear taking that first step because, like I said, the unknown.
Yeah.
I think it's probably then, like I say, to use the resources around you more or less.
Yeah.
And search what support there is out there, rather than thinking you're on your own. Which a lot of people feel that obviously I'm starting a business, I'm on my own. I've been out plenty.
And also remembering that everything that we did for the first time was scary. The first day at school, the first snog, first dinner party that you host, you know, everything we do for the first time is, you know, is a bit daunting. But again, that's about fear of the unknown, isn't it? Because once you've done it, you sort of think, well, and, you know, so it's, yeah, no, but as you say, I think using the resources and people around you, definitely.
Yes. So what's the most common reason why people come to you for coaching, and how can you help people?
I think that the thing that people present with, I mean, that's just so diverse. So it might be bullying, it might be not happy at work, it might be families, relationships, OCD, depression, you know, all sorts of different things people present with. But in my mind, you've got the thing that they present with, and then you've got the reason for that underneath. And it's the underlying reason that is the common thing, if you like. Obviously, the reason for the underlying thing isn't common, but the fact that there is an underlying thing is common. And how I see it is that these symptoms on the top, whether it's depression, OCD, lack of confidence, all these, you know, varying degrees of stuff, it's the stuff underneath going, help me. And that's why I think it's really important to clear the stuff underneath. Yes, we work on the symptom that they've come with, but also working on underneath, because I believe that if we get rid, someone comes to you with nail biting, for example, and you say, yeah, I can sort that. So you stop them nail biting, but the thing underneath is still going, help me. So they go, come back the next week, you won't believe it, I'm agoraphobic now. You know, because it comes up as something, that's how I see it. I think it comes up as something else. So I think my focus when I'm working with people really is, as well as working on the thing on the top, is working on the stuff underneath to make sure that it's clear and it's not going to keep screaming for help and pop its head up as something else. So the common thing that people come with is the stuff underneath, the stuff they've buried and thought that they've got rid of.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it is, you're getting down to the core. And I think that is where you want to start, from the internal stuff, rather than focusing on external stuff. Because like you said, you know, the external stuff could just take a different form.
Exactly, yeah.
If you haven't cleared the blockage or the trauma or whatever it is that's holding you back, it's just still going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. So just how I see it as well, I think, yeah, absolutely.
So in a recent survey of 9,000 workers across various industries by a company called UK Workplace, they found that 70% of women suffer from lack of confidence and 60% of men suffer from lack of confidence. Why do you feel that so many people now in the workplace are suffering from a lack of self-esteem, lack of confidence?
I think the real number is probably higher than that, actually, because I think that people don't necessarily recognise lack of confidence. I think, you know, no, I can do a presentation for 2,000 people, don't bother me. I can be the first one on the dance floor, don't bother me. But that means you can do those things in a confident manner. It doesn't necessarily mean you're confident. So I think a lot of people think they're confident, when they're not. So I wouldn't be surprised if that number is higher than that. But also I think, although things can happen in adulthood to make us lack in confidence, most of the time I think it starts when we're younger, and it doesn't have to have been a massive event. It can be, as I was saying earlier, it can just be one thing that someone said. I mean, if let's say you're 8 years old and it's your birthday and you've gone, oh, brilliant, and you've gone out for breakfast with mum and dad, it's so exciting, you get to school, happy birthday, oh, thank you, getting all your cards in, and you've got a party after school and everyone's coming, oh, it's just so exciting, you can't bear it. And then at some point during the day, a teacher in some context or other says, you're absolutely useless. And you go, oh, and you're thinking, should we play pass the parcel first? And should we get the jelly afterwards? So you straight over your head, nothing, no effect whatsoever. Another day, exactly the same person, you're 8 years old, you go to school, you just had an argument with your mum, you get into school, your favourite pencil's been broken, and your best friend's gone and sat next to someone else, or which is massive when you're 8. And then the teacher says to you during the day in some context, you're absolutely useless. Then you go, oh, well, obviously I am. Obviously my mum doesn't like me, my friend doesn't like me, someone's broken my pencil, I can't even use my favourite pencil, of course I'm useless. And then you spend the rest of your life trying to prove that to be true because you believe that to be a fact. So let's say then you've got PE the next day, and that awful thing when they're picking teams and you're left last, nobody wants to choose you for their team. And what you would think as person number 2, as child number 2, well, obviously, of course, I'm useless, of course no one's going to pick me. Whereas the reality is, when we're picking teams, we choose our friends. It's nothing to do with our ability or how useless or otherwise we might be. And yet the kid whose birthday it was, who that comment went right over their head, they'll be thinking, no, well, don't pick me then. I won't pick you next time. And that's as much as they think. So the person who's been told they're useless 20, 30, 40 years later, unless that's been dealt with, they're still trying to prove it. Everything they do, they're useless. So I think that's where
it's amazing how. Yeah, I think it's amazing how things in childhood can still really haunt an adult. We haven't dealt with the stories that we create for ourselves at that age.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's why in adulthood we've got these hang-ups like for no real reason.
I found that a lot. That people will be running the same pattern story that they might have picked up, I know, when they're 9, 8, 7.
Yeah.
And it's conditioned as an adult still.
Yeah. Well, at the time, it's very reasonable, isn't it? Whatever steps you put in place when you're 8 or 9, that's totally reasonable at the time. And then you forget why you've done it. You just keep doing it, and it's out of habit, then, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that. So, what advice would you give to someone who was suffering from low self-esteem and they're looking to overcome this?
I think understanding and appreciating yourself is a first step, because very often we'll be if we look at ourselves, we worry about stuff that isn't, again, going back to what we've just said then, really we're worrying about, so we believe stuff about ourselves that isn't true. So using that last thing as an example, we believe we're useless, and I think quite a good thing to do is to look at yourself from someone else's perspective. So someone you spend, just friends or colleagues, whatever, put yourself in their shoes and look back at yourself then and think, actually, am I useless, really? So whatever your self-esteem, whatever your thing is that you're hooking your self-esteem on, or lack of self-esteem on, I think really think, it's not easy to do on your own, to be fair. I think it's, obviously it's to talk to someone to get some help with it. I think it's the ideal thing, because it's not easy to see ourselves. Again, it's something we're hiding from ourselves. So if you're hiding it from yourself, you can't see it. So it's difficult to unearth on your own. But if you do know what the root of it is in terms of the emotion, as I say, look from someone else's perspective and think, is it real? Does that make sense? And very often, no, it doesn't. Mm-hmm. We think we're stupid, and in actual fact, we might be a CEO of some massive company. We still think we're stupid. In reality, we know we're not. So yeah, but that's a tricky one to do on your own, I think.
Yeah, I agree there. It is. So what do you think is the key to having deep fulfillment in life?
To having fulfillment in life, I think, is having an idea of what it is you want to do, which is not necessarily an easy thing to conjure up. It's I think if we're asked, what is it you want to do? And a lot of people would say, win the lottery. I think the reason people say that, they think that all their problems are going to evaporate if they win the lottery. doesn't. Your gas bill isn't a worry anymore, but other than that, everything else is, but again, the stuff you've brought forward with you from your child doesn't go away just because you've got a big bank balance. So I think fulfillment is, again, that's not necessarily an easy one to establish on your own, because I think we do need to dig deep and what we think we want to do, to really look at that. Is that really what I want to do, or does it represent something else? I want to be, let's say I want to be a barrister, for example. I'm talking, if I did, but if I said I want to be a barrister, it might be because I think, but if I'm a barrister, I'm going to meet some really nice men. They'll be intelligent, they'll be solvent, they'll, be interesting to talk to. And so when I really drill down, I don't want to be a barrister, I want to meet a barrister. Do you see what I mean? So I think when we think about what we want in life, we need to look at why. Why do we want that? Is that really what's going on? So I think fulfillment is not necessarily a straightforward answer.
Yeah,
if you know what you want, then go for it. But if you don't, that's more tricky.
Yeah, I think I like what you're saying there. It's about having the awareness of yourself and having that self-discovery of who you are, what it is you want in life, what you value. And I think a lot of people don't know that. They don't really know how to understand themselves. They're probably a lot of times following the plan that their parents told them to do.
Exactly.
Society says you should be doing, and then they obviously feel, okay, well, I'm not happy now.
Yeah, and that could be 20, 30, 40 years down the line. You've been doing that, something, hang on a minute, never did want to be a sailor, what am I doing here? So tricky one.
You kind of alluded to this, but I just wanted to go into a bit more detail. So if someone came to you and they're struggling with like a past experience, it's a bad relationship, or they've lost a job, or something that's blocking them, like what would you advise you to them in order to overcome that challenge to then move forward?
Again, I think this is a really tricky one to do on your own, because by the nature of, like, when something happens to us, the way most of us deal with stuff, unless we're consciously aware of it, you try and do something about it, and when you don't know what to do, you bury it, and then it seems to go away. Oh yeah, that's all right, if it don't bother me, that's fine. And then as the years go on, that thing that you've buried, it starts to really sort of hurt, and sometimes physically hurt. And so I think it is difficult when we buried something to recognise what it is, to bring it out and deal with it. So I think it's about, again, it's another thing that's very difficult to do on your own. If it's something that happened to you years ago and you've buried it, a past experience or trauma. I think looking at the relevance of it today, if indeed you can put your finger on what it is that you're feeling, and also, one of the relevance of it today, and also, are you looking at the right thing? Because I think sometimes we can spend a long time trying to get over something, and we're trying to get over the wrong thing. So, for example, let's say a man and a woman are in a relationship. It's been going on for quite a long time. Anyway, and the woman thinks, oh, I don't know, I'm not really feeling it anymore. We're not really doing much together. We don't spend much time together. I don't really fancy him anymore. I'm going to go around and finish with him. So she goes around to his flat, opens the door, and there he is. Woo! She catches him at it with somebody else. Absolutely devastated, and runs away. And then for years and years doesn't have relationships because she can't bear the thought in case something. The reality is she was going to finish with him. It really wasn't any big loss. It really wasn't any big betrayal, because she'd really, the ties had been severed already. In actual fact, what she's trying to get over is when she was, 10 years old and walking home from school or something, and she sees her mum's car parked somewhere it shouldn't be, and her friend decide that her mum's having an affair, must be. And so of course her whole life flashes before her, both future, past and present. Oh my God, mum and dad are going to split up, and 2 hours later she gets home. Turns out it wasn't her mum's car after all. But that 2 hours that she spent absolutely in hell because of the story she was making up for herself, that doesn't go away just because it turned out not to be true. And that betrayal that was ruining her life at that time for those 2 hours, that's what she was harping back to when she saw her partner with that other person. Do you see what I mean? So she's trying to get over, but it's not that she's trying to get over. So sometimes we can be hanging on to something, we can't get over something because it's not the thing we're trying to get over, if that makes sense. But we don't know why we can't get over it, but it's because it's the wrong thing. Why does it mean so much to me? I didn't like him anyway. It's because it's the wrong thing. So again, that's not necessarily an easy one to do on your own, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like your analogy. It's a hard thing to come over.
Yeah.
So why do you think that so many people struggle with having the right mindset when it comes to achieving high performance goals? Yeah. So what do you think? What's your opinion on that?
I think with mindset, just mindset in generally, whatever level of goal we're trying to achieve, I think firstly, it could be we're surrounding ourselves with negative people, and that might be a family, group of friends, colleagues, and you've generally got sort of one ringleader of doom who's all, everything's all bad, everything's bad, whatever. And you end up just doing that yourself because that's what your group are doing, and you find yourself doing it. So I think that can be, and that is a definite barrier to a positive mindset because you find it difficult to see anything positive. Another thing can be habit, which can either be as a result of having in the past mixed with people like that, or maybe you went through a time when awful things were happening and you couldn't see any good in stuff and it's just sort of stuck, you've just held on to it. And I think with, if you find yourself I don't know, watching telly and you're going, cool, look at his hair, look, fancy having hair like that, look at what he's wearing, oh, look at her doing this, everything, you're just finding negativity and stuff that really doesn't even matter, and I think if you find yourself doing that, then you're recognizing that you are maybe in a negative state, and the way past that, I think, is just to recognize it and just pull yourself up each time you do it. And if you get in the habit of doing that, eventually you will start to see actually everybody's lovely. It doesn't matter what they're wearing or what they're saying, or And another thing is, well, I think it's easier to be negative than it is positive. That the path of least resistance is the negative one because there's no effort involved in that, is there? That's rubbish. Oh, that's bad. Full stop. Whereas if you want to find some positivity in sometimes you do. Whilst I'm queen of silver linings, it's not always easy. It is a conscious effort a lot of the time. So, it is something that takes conscious effort, I think, to be positive. And in order to have a general positive mindset, you've got to start with the small stuff.
Yeah, I like that. I think, like, to your points there about obviously the first thing about surrounding yourself with negative people. And I think I remember reading something a few years back about how your brain will incentivize you to adopt their principles and behaviors and actions. If you
want to be one of the gang, don't you? Yeah.
So, and it'll create that environment, and you adopt the same behaviors and beliefs you had. So I think that is very crucial. Like, people don't. I think they hold on, especially if they know someone for so long. It's so hard to then say, look, I'm going to cut this person out of my life or distance myself from this person.
And in a way, you sort of get to admire them, though, don't you? In a way, because if they're the ringleader, you admire them. That's why you're with them in the first place. So it's often difficult to recognise, isn't it? I mean, I think what you're talking about there is very difficult to do, isn't it?
It is. I think that's why. I read somewhere that someone says that you should do like a SWOT analysis of your friends.
Oh no! Oh, I love it. Oh, I wonder if any of us have any friends left.
Yeah, because they said like you should be doing that to then look at, okay, well, what are the strengths of each person and weaknesses?
Yeah, what are you bringing to my life?
Yeah, because they said that people wouldn't do that with their business. They're willing to sit down and do like a big analysis of the business. So why don't do it in their personal life?
Yeah.
No, and they should be willing to do that, to say, look, is this person really someone that should be hanging out with, spending my time with, and getting advice from? So I thought I think that's an interesting thing.
That is really good. But like you say, unless you actually do the SWOT analysis, very often, like we were just saying just now, you don't necessarily recognise it because you've been with them so long and you admire them in some respects. So you don't necessarily recognise the negativity. So if you're actually doing an analysis, hang on a minute, it might jump out. So yeah, that's a good thing.
I think that's the thing. I think people should be doing that.
Have you done it?
I do that now.
Have you done it? Have you got any friends left?
I've got friends now because, I mean, one thing was it said it's like, okay, so when you find, what basically it was, when you do the SWOT analysis and you find that these people aren't the people you should be hanging out with, then it's like that you create, okay, what's your ideal person that you want to be around? What kind of person? What are their interests? all this kind of thing, and then you go and seek that person. So whether it's, I don't know, you go join a business network if you want to be around like successful people, you go to a library, you go join the activities that that person, the avatar person you've created would like, and then you start seeing that actually your social circle starts improving, and your quality of the standard of your friends improve, and then
love it.
You also start noticing that you're adopting their beliefs, their patterns, their habits, and then you also see upgrading.
And also, if you don't know what it is you're looking for, you're not going to find it, are you? So that's brilliant. Yeah, well, I like that. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, because I think that's what they said. Like they said, you want to treat your life like you do in business. Like there's no difference between your business and your personal life. So if you're willing to do a SWOT analysis of your business, willing to do a client avatar for your business, do that for who's your ideal friend or person you want to be around, because and then obviously, you know, like the talk about law of attraction, and you start seeing that person, and then manifestation that person, and then, you know, so I found it interesting. I think that is how I like to do it now. So I will do a SWOT analysis of people, like to see now, okay, well, if I'm around this person quite often, what are the benefits and weaknesses around this person? And it doesn't mean you have to cut them out completely if they're not. Sure. It just mean like you even like limit the amount of time around them. So
but also it's horses for courses, isn't it? Some friends are the ones that you go to the pub, well, not at the moment, but when we can go to the pub with. Other friends are ones you go swimming with. Other friends you have a deeper meaningful conflab with, doesn't it? So yeah.
So I just thought about bringing that up, because I thought.
I love that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to write that down.
So let's go. So with mental health such a huge topic in society right now, what are two of your best tips to advise people on how to, you know, manage their mental state and well-being?
I think talking is a sort of a universal one, and again, not easy for everybody. So that might be something that if you haven't got anyone in your life that you feel you can talk to, then maybe go to a professional. But I think it's different for everybody, really, because for some people, I mean, like me, you know, I can take my stress levels down a notch by having a massage, for example. But for someone else, we go, oh, couldn't bear it. So, you know, it really just, it depends what, as an individual, you like to do. So, I mean, you're walking in the country, maybe journaling is, you know, can be a good thing. But really, whatever helps to take you down a notch. And so, as I say, it'd be different for everybody. For some people, it might be spending time on their own. For other people, it might be spending time with people. So, you know, you'd be in a crowd of people. So it depends what rings your bell. But I think the key would be to try and get a bit of that every day. So you don't wait till it gets to here and then try and get yourself back down to here, because that ain't going to happen in one go. You know, but I think if every day you're just doing a little something to keep yourself down, then when whatever hits the fan, you're not going to go whoa. You know, you're just going to go up a lesser degree than you would have done otherwise. So I think just for sort of general well-being and mental health, I think it's an ongoing exercise, really, and whatever rings your bell as an individual, I think.
So, you know, for some people, they find it obviously hard to prioritize their own needs and put themselves first. So for those people, especially if you're like in a relationship and you find it hard to say to your partner, look, I need some half an hour of me time. Like, how would you advise them in order to be able to have those conversations with their friends and family to then feel confident they can then start putting themselves first?
I think that sort of ties in with the low self-esteem thing and the lack of confidence, because it does take a lot of confidence, and you do have to believe in yourself to be able to say something, excuse me, I'm going to take myself off for half an hour. You know, if that's not what you normally do, that if you haven't sort of set that as a thing when you're first together with someone, whether it's a friend or a partner, or indeed family members, I think if it's not something you've done before, that does take a lot of courage to have that conversation. And so, you know, really, it's a case of looking at why you can't. What is the reason you feel you can't do that, and starting at that point, I think, because if you're not feeling strong enough to do that, and you try and do it, it's just going to come out as, don't worry, actually, you're never going to be able to do it if it's not. So it needs to come from a place of sort of inner strength, really, that sort of thing, doesn't it? That is a difficult one, and again, not necessarily something easy to do on your own, because I think it needs a bit of unraveling. I mean, the actual doing of it you might be able to do on your own, but then you probably go, oh, afterwards. So I think it probably needs a little bit of unraveling. But I mean, the bottom line is, if you know, you don't, if you don't ask, you don't get. Is that the expression? You know, you need to also needing to understanding what it is that you need is often a barrier in itself, isn't it? You know, you're not feeling satisfied, not feeling loved, whatever. You don't necessarily know what is going to put that right. So that can be a bit of a stumbling block as well, can't it?
Yeah, I think you're highlighting two things there for me, like the need of probably potentially having a coach to then support you and help you uncover those blind spots and help you unravel it. And then also, again, having more like awareness of yourself, like what are your needs, wants, desires, and then being able to then work on and communicating that to people.
And that's not as easy as it sounds, is it? You know, what do you want? Well, I don't know. I think that's why everyone falls back on win the lottery, because they don't necessarily know what they want. So yeah, no, it's more tricky than it sounds, isn't it?
Yeah. So Cosmopolitan magazine recently stated that they found that the number one reason for breakdown in relationships was communication. So, and this can be communication, they said, whether it's a personal or business relationship. So it wasn't relationship per se. But then what is your tips in order to like build strong relationships using communication?
Well, and again, sort of leading on from the last thing, really, I think communication is absolutely key. And again, we've just said that we often don't know what we want ourselves. So how we expect other people to know what we want, I don't know, but we expect them to deliver it regardless, don't we? You know, and you think if you've got, again, let's say man and a woman in a relationship, and you know they're a match made in heaven. They like the same things. They laugh together. They have a good time. Brilliant. But they're both feeling really unloved, and it's really, you know, causing an issue. And the woman says to her friends, "Do you know, he never tells me he loves me. I mean, he might Christmas Day and maybe birthday. That's it. Never tells me he loves me. I just feel so unloved. I feel so unvalued." And then the bloke's saying to his friends, "Do you know, outside of the bedroom, she never kisses me, never touches me, nothing. No cuddles, nothing. I'm just feeling so unloved. I'm feeling so unvalued." And then they both think, "I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a real big effort here." So the woman, I'm going to tell him that I love him at every opportunity. So she does that, and he thinks, "What?" And then he says, "I'm going to kiss and touch her every time I get the opportunity." And she's like, "Yeah, off." And then, but because they're trying to fulfill their own needs by giving it to the other person. And had they communicated, they would know what to do. And I think where the confidence in that comes, and this is whether it's a work, obviously not the touching and kissing thing in a work relationship, but the same thing applies, whether it's someone not sharing information or someone taking advantage time-wise of someone else in a work situation. You know, if you don't communicate it, the other person doesn't necessarily know. We think it's something obvious, you know, when we need something, obviously they must know, you know, but no, not necessarily. So I think, and where the confidence with that comes in, I think is, again, like we were saying with the last point, it's very difficult to have a conversation, especially when it's been going on for quite a long time. In a work situation, if someone just keeps giving you jobs at the end of the day and you get absolutely so wound up about it, but 6 months ago when you were having problems at home and you didn't want to go home, so you kept saying, "No, it's all right, give it to me, I like staying late, I like it," not realizing that actually everyone still thinks you like it. So you know, and without communication, nobody knows they're doing anything wrong, and you're sitting there till 9 o'clock at night still trying to get all this stuff finished. So yeah, communication is pretty important in all relationships.
I agree with you there. I think it is, again, like having that understanding of like what it is your needs and actually listen to people. I think like a lot of times, you know, I also read recently in an article they were talking about how we need to have 60% listening, 20% actioning, 10% talking, and then 10% planning. And actually limit that, because we spend too much time talking, not actually listening.
And
a lot of times, like you said, it's basically on expressing your needs rather than actually listening to what the other person's saying to you.
And then one step backwards from that, of course, is knowing what your needs are.
Yeah.
It's all very well saying about your partner, "I don't like this." Well, what do you want then? "Well, I don't know, but I don't want that." You know, unless we know what we need, we can't. And again, we expect them to fulfill it, even though we don't know what it is. So, you know, there is the first step is knowing what you want yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which goes back to that fulfillment thing, which again isn't as easy as it sounds.
Yeah. So what's one of your favorite client success stories and why?
I had a lady that I've been working with for a long time with OCD, depression, all sorts of different things like that. And she's just amazing. She has come from like couldn't do anything, couldn't go anywhere, to being this fabulous woman who's creating a wonderful life for herself. And it is just, I'm just so impressed with her. I think she's amazing what she's achieved in the time. So that's, yeah. That's the one that has made the biggest change from where she was to where she is, just in every respect of her life, and within herself and everything. So yeah, that's my biggest one, I suppose.
Well, it's also good when you have one of those ones when someone's totally transformed their life and you can see the difference.
Well, and coming from the difference from start to finish, is so massive in every respect with her. So that's good.
It makes it rewarding when you see that kind of success.
Yeah.
So during difficult periods as we're experiencing right now, what are two of your best tips that enable you to stay motivated that you can then share with other people?
Staying motivated. Staying motivated is essentially about being positive. And if we're sort of miserable and scared, then it's difficult. That feels negative, and therefore it's going to be there's going to be a lack of motivation to follow, I would think. And I think in times like this, I personally feel don't keep immersing yourself in every piece of every statistic. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. Chances are it won't, but it's all doom mongering because that's what makes news. That's what sells newspapers, and the economy has shrunk. Well, of course it has. We've been closed down for a few months. Of course it's shrunk. What did you think? They're talking like they don't know. I don't know how. It's a mystery. It's not a mystery. It will pass. It will get better. And I think to not keep immersing ourselves in, I don't know if every tablet's the same, but mine comes up with little sort of dots on the top with the news thing. I just swipe it once a day, look at the headlines. If Boris has got something to say, I'll go and check that so I know if the rules have changed or whatever. I don't look at the rest of it. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying bury your head in the sand. Obviously, we need to know the basics of what's going on. We need to know how it's affecting us and how we can make sure going forwards we're doing the best thing for our personal circumstances, because everyone's got different stuff going on, obviously, with what's going on at the moment. But I think I do appreciate it's difficult to keep a positive hat on, but I think it is about, and it does take effort. Even being silver lining queen, it does take effort to stay positive about everything. But it's like if you're given a meter square of cotton, let's say, and you want to make an evening dress, well, you can't. You've got a meter square of cotton. You'll make a pair of shorts. Make a pair of shorts and like it, because there's no point in. But I want an evening dress. Well, you can't. But I wish, if only I could. Well, you can't, and I think it is what it is. We've got to accept it and get on with it. And I think, I know that's easier said than done. I'm not saying, not being blasé, that's all you've got to do, just stay positive. I do realise it's difficult, but when you're in a situation where there is no other option. My mum always used to say, which I've sort of lived by, she used to say, if something was happening and you'd be going, and she'd say, can you do something about it? And if the answer was no, she said, well, then shut up, just get on with it. If there's nothing you can do about it, just accept it and get on with it. If the answer is yes, you can do something about it, she'd say, then ask yourself, am I going to do something about it? And again, if the answer is no, then stop going on about it, because, if you can do something about it and you will do something about it, do it. And I sort of think that, I sort of live by that, really. If you can't do anything about it, make your pair of shorts. Don't keep thinking about that evening dress that you want. Make the pair of shorts and enjoy them, because if you've only got a meter square of cotton, that's all you can do with it. And I think that's. I realise I'm oversimplifying it, and everyone's situation is different. But when we've got no choice in the matter, there's no value to keep pushing ourselves down, when we don't really know what's around the corner anyway. Might not be as bad as they keep saying.
And I think you're right there, because I think a lot of times people spend their time worrying about things that are out of their control, like worrying about, I don't know,
And what might happen.
yeah,
But that might happen. Yeah, but it might not. And I do, you know, I'm making it sound easier than it is. I do realise it's really hard to do it, but you know, but by the same token, it's Hobson's choice, I think.
I think it's more they're just more concerned with focusing on what's in their control, as you're saying. What can
Yes,
they
yeah,
change?
yeah. Make that nice pair of shorts and enjoy them. Enjoy them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, rather than worrying about, okay, there's, you know, the COVID, for example, we can't do anything about COVID unless you're a
Yeah,
doctor or scientist. You
yeah.
can't. So keep worrying about it. Can't nothing. But doesn't.
But also, I think, I mean, yeah, I mean, exactly as you say there. I think if COVID itself is, as it sounds like, if that's a concern, of course, it's a concern for all of us. But what I mean is, if you know, it's a case of, okay, well then, if you feel more comfortable wearing a mask and the full thing every time you go out your front door, do it. If that what makes you feel comfortable, do it. Everyone's doing something different. Some people are not wearing anything. Some people are wearing the full thing. Whatever you feel comfortable with, do it. And if that makes you feel happier and more secure, do it. I mean, I'm still back in the days of 2 meter distance and not really going into shops and stuff, but that's what makes me feel comfortable. So that's, you know, that's my level of acceptance of it. If I go out anywhere where there's likely to be anyone, I'm wearing a mask, and if no one else is, so be it. You know, it's I mean, I think each area of the country, they're probably dealing with it slightly different depending on how serious it is in their area. But, you know, I think you've got to bite the bullet with it and do whatever you feel comfortable doing. And if that is wearing a crash helmet and full gear, go for it. You know, if that makes you feel more secure and better, there's no point in doing anything else, I don't think. But again, that goes back to confidence, because actually it does take a lot of confidence to go around wearing a mask when nobody else is.
Yeah.
But if that is what you feel comfortable doing, I think do it.
Yeah, I totally
Whatever
agree.
the rules say.
I agree with you. So what's one hobby or activity in your personal life you're not very good at?
I'm not very tidy. I like to call it procrastination, but to be fair, it's just laziness. I mean, any, like, if you go to my house, any rooms that are any visitor is likely to see, it's all neat and tidy and clean and lovely. And any room that doesn't have visitors, it looks like a hurricane's just gone through it. It's like when someone comes round, it's in my consulting room, and if it's an existing client, obviously I've got their coffee or tea ready for them. But if it's a new client, oh, do take a seat. Yeah, what would you like to? And if they follow me into the kitchen, I'm like, go away, because it looks like a bomb sitting in there. So yeah, no, that's my downfall, is my tidiness. And I know how lovely it feels, like all the feng shui stuff, you know, when it is all tidy, and I'm really conscious of the energy flowing when it's like that. But it's like, shall I tidy up, or I'll weed the garden instead? It's more important. So just not very good at tidying. That's my downfall.
So next one is 2 questions in one. The first part of the question is, what's next for you in terms of your business, in terms of your practice? And the second one is, how can people reach out to work with you? Like, what's your website? What social media platforms are you on for people to reach out and then to work with you?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, in terms of where I'm going next with the business, really just much of the same. I absolutely love what I'm doing. I mean, at the moment, obviously it's all online, but it's providing you've got a good connection, that's just as effective and just as nice, really. So yeah, more of the same. I really just love seeing people blossom in areas of their lives where they weren't blossoming, or just getting clarity about stuff, understanding themselves more. And I mean, as you obviously know yourself, but when you help someone to understand themselves more, you know, there's no greater gift, really, is there? I mean, it just opens up your whole world, doesn't it, when you know yourself better. So and again, you obviously appreciate the joy in doing that for people. It's just, you know, it's just fantastic. So yeah, as far as business goes, as much of the same, really, just helping people to just enjoy life, basically, and enjoy themselves. In terms of getting in contact with me and stuff, I've got I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. Instagram's a bit of a mystery to me, I don't know about that one. But my main thing is my website, really, and I've got on there's a newsletter that you can sign up to, where you get what I hope will be interesting videos and on lots of different areas of life. And obviously details to get in touch, to have a free chat, see what's going on with people, and see, because I think it's important to have a free chat in the first instance to see whether we click, because you need to be able to click, because you're going to be talking about a lot of deeper, meaningful stuff, and so it's important that you have a connection with each other to ensure that you've got that connection to be able to talk about stuff. And I think as well, I do most of my articles on video, vlog, I suppose you call it, don't you? I do that because I think that thing, when you see someone and you see them talking, and the sort of words they use, the language they use, even the sentence, there's a way you structure sentences, I think says, we can understand a lot about each other without realizing it. And I think that's why I like to do videos, because I feel then that people, when they go on my website, they know whether they click with me. You get a sense of somebody, I think, don't you, when you do that? So I'd love to have a chat with anyone who doesn't know what to do with whatever's going on in their lives, or wants it to be better.
So just to be more specific on their website details, just so people...
Oh yeah, that'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? Yeah. So Jessica Hylands, and that's HY Hylands, Jessica Hylands, confidencecoach.co.uk.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so I'd recommend anyone to reach out to Jessica and work with her. You get lots of value with her. So definitely
thank you.
Reach out to her. And then final question, what's one final piece of advice you want to give to people when it comes to increasing their self-esteem or being able to master the mindset?
I think be yourself is a big, be yourself and love it. Because I think when we've got, again, going back to something I was saying earlier, when we've got ourselves here, and then we've got the person we present to the public out here, when we're not being ourselves, it's really hard work, apart from anything else. But so everything that you do and say is calculated, because it's not coming from the heart, it's not a natural thing. So this is going on so quick, you're not sort of consciously aware of it, but you're saying and doing things in accordance with this persona that you've created. So firstly, that's really hard work, and secondly, that can knock your confidence, because you'll do and say things and you think, oh no, shouldn't have done that, shouldn't have said that. But a lot of the time I think that's because it wasn't maybe it might be that our natural self has come through by accident, and it's gone against what this persona is meant to be showing, if that makes sense. So sometimes it might be that, but either way, that we're not being completely true to ourselves. And I think that can be one hard work, and it can knock your confidence, and you're spending so much time concentrating on improving your persona that you're not working on yourself. And with mindset, confidence, self-esteem, that's all put to one side, because it's almost not relevant, because it doesn't matter. Your persona can deal with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's a good advice. So I think, thank you, Jessica. You've given us lots of useful insights, and I think anyone who's watched this now and has watched this later on are going to be able to pick up lots of key insights that's going to really help them. Thank you for giving up your time to share your wisdom with us.
No, lovely to see you. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Pleasure. And for everyone else, there are going to be more business conversation interviews coming up, so keep an eye out for those. Otherwise, Jessica, we wish you the best of luck with your future.
Thank you very much, and to you.
And and have a great evening, and we'll speak soon. And thank you for being on this interview.
Excellent stuff. All right then, cheers. Bye.
Thanks, Jessica. Bye.
Bye.